is Rebecca Michael. I'm the Advocacy Manager at the Independent Center, and I'm with
Daniel Ratcliffe, the Benefits Coordinator at the Independent Center.
And we have two guests with us. Primarily, the reason why we wanted to do this is not just to put them on the spot and have them come and talk to us, but really it's because the Independent Center, along with its home health agency, is a center for independent living. And we talk about our center a lot, and a lot of people are kind of doing a lot of Googling about what the IC is and what we do. And so instead of having them Google it, we brought you two here for you to talk to us.
Alternative Google.
Exactly.
Right.
So I'll have you guys introduce yourselves, and we'll jump into kind of the history of what independent living looks like and some of those champions that we kind of admire and look up to. So go ahead, Dixie.
I'm Dixie Herring. I'm the director of the Center for Independent Living.
And I'm Courtney Stone. I'm our senior manager.
Wonderful. See, we brought the big guns in today.
I have to behave myself.
Watch it.
Yeah. We'll keep an eye on you. Don't worry.
All right, cool.
Yes. So let's jump in. I want to start off not exactly jumping into what independent living looks like and how it got started. I want to start off with kind of a story that Courtney told me the first day that I started, and it really made me kind of go, yes, I'm in the right spot. I really like this place. And the way that Courtney tells this story just kind of captures your passion and makes you want to continue to move forward in our work. So without further ado, Courtney.
Yeah, without further ado, and no pressure whatsoever.
No pressure.
Well, I honestly love telling the story of Wade Blank, and it's actually kind of a fun indicator when we have new staff sort of about where their passions and their heart lies. But the independent living movement started back in the 70s, and there are quite a few different players that were involved with that, but Wade is our local hero. Reverend Wade Blank was a recreational coordinator at a nursing facility in Denver, and he did not have a disability himself, but he supported other people with disabilities who were living in a nursing home because there was no other accessible place for them to live. So there are 30 or 40-something-year-old people with disabilities that are stuck in a nursing facility because there's just no other place for them to go. And at that time, that was just that was the path that people with disabilities took. Especially if you used a wheelchair or had any really, more significant disability, there wasn't a lot of option, or even the thought that you should have the option. Mm-hmm. So Reverend Blank was working in this nursing facility with these younger folks, and I don't know the specific number, there were 8 to 12, but they were interested in going to a Grateful Dead concert. And
right on.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go.
Reverend Blank took that to the administrators at the nursing facility and asked if he could, figure out how to get these guys to this concert. And they just flat out turned him down, that, it would make other people uncomfortable, that it wasn't safe. There was no way to make that work. And that kind of just sparked this idea of why are we doing this? And so, there were some processes kind of along the way, but the larger outcome is that technically Reverend Blank might have kidnapped them technically from
Let's
the
not
nursing
use the
facility.
Yeah.
From their view, it was that he was releasing them from essentially forced prison,
Sure.
but tomato, he essentially took these 8 to 10 people and found a home out in the community that he made accessible, and he lived with them so that they would have access. But in places across the country, they were recognizing that the institutions didn't have to be the only option, but that once you moved out into the community, even though you opened that door, you were sort of faced with 6 more closed ones.
Yes.
That maybe the sidewalks didn't have curb cuts, or in particular, they focused on public transportation, that, they were living in an accessible house, but once they got into the house, could they get out into the community? Could they get work? Could they go visit anywhere? And so in Denver in 1978-ish, ADAPT, which is Americans with Disabilities for Accessible Public Transportation. That's how it started. They are probably one of the most maybe extreme, somewhat militant, but folks in support of rights for people with disabilities. And they really started this movement around independent living in large part by setting up these protests around public transportation, where they, and you hear this in the disability rights movement a lot, the phrase, nothing about us without us. Mm-hmm. And that, really started with that core group of people who they went through the process in both Denver and in Chicago kind of around the same time of trying to figure out how we got accessible public transportation. And they did it the nice way. You escalate and you have the meetings and then you have more meetings. And eventually they got to the point of just, okay, this is enough. We're not getting anywhere. Yeah. And so they chained themselves to the buses and said, if the buses aren't going to be accessible to me, they're not going to be accessible to anyone else. Right. And that really, the media, I get goosebumps like every time I tell that story. That really started the national attention on the fact that people with disabilities thought that they should have access. Yes. It wasn't somebody else fighting for them. It was, they would crawl up the steps of buses to make it as clear and apparent, like, this is what you're asking me to do to be a part of the community, and I deserve better. Wow. And so that's kind of at the heart of what we do, is this sense of, if there's a barrier, we do try and work through it in the most, sort of collective, collaborative way possible. But there is a point where we do say, this is something that we deserve, and we will stand up and make sure that it happens.
So when I'm hearing this story, it's really resonating with me because it very much so sounds like disability rights and civil rights are hand in hand. The same ask is there. The same want of inclusiveness is there. The same strength is there, and it's wonderful. It's very powerful to hear that story. It sounds like Reverend Bo was the Harriet Tubman of disability rights. Mm-hmm.
Well, and there's, Reverend Blank is
Reverend
one.
Blank, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. I mean, but there are so many disability rights advocates that have those core stories. And you're absolutely right that the civil rights movement and the disability rights movement they're cousins of each other. That, the civil rights movement didn't call out disability rights specifically, but it was that foundation that we can look and say, hey, they fought for a collective identity, for that because they belong to a group, deserve something more. Yeah. Yep. And being able to win that is pretty amazing. And the fact that, we say civil rights and everybody knows what that means, right. But I know and I acknowledge and struggle with how much further we have to go with the disability rights movement. Yes. Because you say disability rights and it's not like, oh yeah, I know what that means. There's, that it's something that our community recognizes and connects with, but it's so recent and not to say, well, it's 30 years old. Right. So it's not that as if it's completely new, but
still pretty new.
We're still on the forefront of even the idea that people with disabilities deserve equal access. So it's a really exciting time to be part of the independent living movement because we have so much work in front of us. Yeah. And I think we get to take some pride that the United States in the world, like on Earth, whatever problems we have and as frustrated as we can be about accessibility, we are the model for the rest of the world. Yes. The ADA was the first and most expansive civil rights law for people with disabilities that exists anywhere. Yeah. So if we can take pride about, truly being the best in the world at something, accessibility is one I take a lot of pride in.
That's awesome. Me too. You're giving me hope. You're giving me hope right now. Yes. Feeling like the world is a good place right now.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yes, exactly. Well, Dixie, after hearing Courtney's kind of inspirational story, or an individual that she looks up to in the work that person did, who do you look up to in the disability rights community, and tell us about that?
Well, I want to talk about Ed Roberts, and this takes us kind of back to the beginning of independent living. Oh, cool. And so I'll tell a little story about Ed, just so you can understand his life and some of the barriers that he had to go through. In 1952, Ed was age 14, and he contracted polio and became paralyzed from the neck down. Yeah. So what that meant was his lungs were paralyzed, and he had to be on like a ventilator or an iron lung. And in those days, that iron lung was pretty large.
Yeah.
And so when he went to school, he attended school by phone. His whole life, except for high school, he attended in person. And he got through the whole high school, but he could not do driver's ed and physical education. So the school board was denying him the right to graduate. And so his mom advocated for him by challenging the school board, and he was then given a diploma and able to graduate. So I really think that was kind of that first bit of advocacy that he was learning to stand up for his own rights. Well, he went on to college. I attended a 2-year college and applied to the University of California at Berkeley, but didn't let them know that he had disability because that really wasn't part of, he was going to school.
Right.
Yeah.
And when he got there, he found out that his iron lung would not fit into the dormitory. So the college denied him entrance into the school. So he challenged that decision, and it was overturned. He was able to attend college, and they made a dorm room out of the school infirmary for him.
Oh.
And so there again, he was challenging that, hey, I can be part of society just like anyone else. This just needs to look a little bit different for me.
Right.
And so while he was at school, he formalized a group for disability rights to help others attending school to have those rights, and it was part of peer support, making sure that they had wheelchair repair, all of the different things that they needed to be able to live in the community independently and go to school. And that was really the beginning of that whole independent living movement. In 1972, after Ed had graduated with his master's degree, he started the first Center for Independent Living, and it was based on that peer support model.
Oh, okay.
And he had worked hard to find the funding to get that started. So down the road a little bit, I believe it was in 1976, Ed became the director of the California Vocation Rehabilitation. And that's the same, I think this is really interesting, that's the same entity that back when he was wanting to go to college, said that he would not be able to go to college and get a degree. And he proved to them that he was able to get that degree. And then he was running that agency. Isn't that really cool?
That is really
Wonderful.
cool.
Yeah.
It's
And
almost
so-
like karma.
Yeah.
It really is.
I'll show you.
Yeah,
Except that
exactly.
he really worked on promoting those disability rights across the country and started more independent living centers across the state. One of the things that in 1952, when he contracted polio, just to kind of give you an idea, the mindset wasn't that you were going like your life was over. You weren't going to be able to really engage in society and give back to society. And one of the doctors said that Ed would be a vegetable to his parents. Well, later in life, Ed said, well, if I'm going to be a vegetable, then I'm going to be a prickly artichoke, prickly on the outside and a big heart on the inside.
Wow.
And so he become known as the father of independent living. Yeah. And so I just think that's a neat story because we have a conference room at our center that is named after Ed and have all the information because we wouldn't be where we were with disability rights if it wasn't for Ed and what he started.
Sure. And so he started the first Center for Independent Living in California?
Yes.
Where in California?
Berkeley, California.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
The beginning of the civil rights movement.
Yes.
Berkeley, California. That's amazing. Wow. Man, so hearing you guys speak about individuals that you look up to in the disability rights movement inspires me to tell both of you that I look up to you guys in the disability awareness and disability rights movement and the independent living movement. I see Dixie in our office regularly, and she is probably one of the most pleasant people that I've ever met in my life. She actually comes down from her throne, per se, to actually just come into the office and say, hello, how are you doing? And that means so much. It means so much to me. When the consumer sees it happening, they appreciate it. And I just wanted to give you your props right now and just say thank you for that. And with that, I wanted to get into what gave you the drive to join this independent living movement.
I'd say it was a series of life events. I have a brother with an intellectual disability, and so as an older sister, I was tasked with a lot of his care, and that care really carried into adulthood and really making sure that he got all of the services that he needed. And as time went on as an adult, I had other family members with a disability. So I found myself really helping to connect them to the resources that they needed to live independently. And that really became... It was clear to me at that time that was a passion of mine. I really liked connecting people to the resources. And I had a really good understanding of what those were because of the help that I gave to my family. So I decided to change careers, go back to school. I got my bachelor's in social work and started working in the field of disabilities. And then in 2010, someone let me know that there was an opening at the Independent Center. And it's like, wow, who's the Independent Center? So I started doing a little research. And,
she Googled.
I Googled. Luckily enough, got the job, started working there, and I really found out that I didn't know near as much about disability as I thought. So it was a real education for me, and it was just a great experience to learn. And I think what was really special about it is I really learned about myself and my own disability that I didn't even recognize that I had. I was always hard of hearing, but, I could hear some, so I just struggled. And I tended to hide it from people because I didn't want them to think I didn't know what was going on. So what I found was I just kind of retreated a lot because it was hard to engage because I couldn't always catch what everybody was saying. And I think I was at work for about 3 months, and our deaf and hard of hearing specialist said, "Dixie, I noticed that you read lips." And I said, "I do." I didn't. It was something, just a real natural thing that I had adapted without even realizing. And so once I started paying attention, I thought, wow, I really do. And I think a real turning point for me was I was sitting in a room planning a deaf and hard of hearing expo with a group of individuals, mostly hard of hearing, and they were talking about all of their struggles. How when they go to a restaurant they can't hear, so they're talking about how they sit in the corner and they can hear better, how much energy they expend during the day just to kind of engage and hear what people are saying, and how wore out they are at the end of the day. And I just welled up with the emotion because I thought, wow, that's what I go through. I didn't realize that's what that was. And I think that was the first time I really truly understood what peer support was. And that was, I think, a real turning point for me in understanding what the independent living movement is and what it's all about, and that whole peer mentoring.
Yes.
That's amazing.
So it's really changed my life.
Yeah. I hear that a lot with either consumers or employees, that they come to this environment where you're just come as you are, we'll take you as you are, and then you realize that you've been adapting your life around an environment that wasn't built for you. And then when you come to the IC, you notice that there is attention to detail so that you can be involved. The no-step entries, the loop systems, just understanding that there was care and thought put into a human being working in this environment and making sure that they have the access that they need. So, I've heard that a lot.
No, I agree. Definitely. I've had those moments where it's like, I'm so happy that I work here. Thank you. You get it. Large print agendas for this meeting. Oh my gosh. Yes. You got to celebrate the small victories. Yep. Definitely, man. So, and with I know that Courtney, you've been on here before and you've explained your journey to the IC. Let's just get into your position at the Independent Center and discuss that a little more in depth. So, what is your current role at the Independent Center?
So my current role is as our senior manager. So I supervise the 6 program managers that we have that support all 16 of our independent living programs.
Right. And so, me knowing you personally, I want to even go further back. Let's go back that leading up to that wonderful position. How did you start? What positions? I personally know, but I want the listeners to key into the wonderful feats and things that you bring to the table, and what you've accomplished in such a short period of time. When I met you, you were in advocacy, and you were working on the transportation coalition. And I remember meeting you and seeing the passion that you had for making transportation accessible for all in Colorado Springs and even outside of Colorado Springs. And I thought to myself, she must be crazy to take on such a big role, and you did it fearlessly. So I just want you to talk about that journey of what you've gone through and what you were able to accomplish in our community for transportation, which would then justify the position that you have today, the well-deserving position that you have today.
Yeah. Well, I actually started at the Independence Center in 2013. So as a millennial, hitting my 6-year anniversary is like, whoa, I'm breaking the mold. But it's a hard place to leave, honestly. I started as our community organizing coordinator. And at the time, I was our only community organizer, and the specific focus, as you mentioned, was on public transportation. And to be honest, I came into this position not knowing a whole lot about community organizing and knowing even less about public transportation. So there was a lot of learning going on in that first year. But the beauty of organizing is that you don't have to be the expert in the issue. You have to surround yourself with people that have lived experience with it. So the coalition was people that used the bus every day, relied on the bus every day, and knew the ins and outs far better than I could. And so my role was simply to try and organize their voices so that they were better heard. And a lot of that was, it's a group of very diverse people coming together with different needs. And almost everybody initially comes to the table with like, the most important thing to Colorado Springs is that the route directly in front of my house is going 15 minutes every hour.
Yes.
And, everybody comes with that mindset because that's why you do advocacy, is because you have a self-interest. You don't usually show up just because you're curious and have some free time about an issue that you don't understand or know about. It's because you actually have investment. And so being able to learn about what the political environment is with public transportation, and the biggest thing with organizing is who has the power to change this. We spend so much time directing energy to people that can't actually make a decision to make things better for us.
Yes.
That, we take it out on the teller at the bank when something happens at the policy level with my, fees. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I get you.
being able to say, like, this is the person that can make the decision. What do they care about? And do I have anything that overlaps with that? How can I leverage what I have to make them care about what I need? And that process it's a long-term one, but the more purposeful you are and the more people involved in it, the more impactful you can be. So we started as just a small group of writers of public transit, and then developed that into a coalition of organizations, all of which served people who had an investment in improving public transportation. So we did rallies, we met with the mayor, we would meet with every city council candidate with elections, and it was really being able to prioritize what we wanted first. So it wasn't just, we want better public transportation, it was, we want $171,000 more for this particular route to do this. Because if you ask for a broad, we want something better, they can be like, well, I gave you $10,000. Why aren't you happy?
Better.
And the more specific you are with what you want, the more likely you are to get it. And it's been such a beautiful thing for me to recognize how much the process of organizing applies in every structure, in every arena, that it's not just for political advocacy, it's the process of identifying how to get the things that you want. And turning, being my age and kind of going through 4-ish years within the public transportation arena and getting to the end of that, and it's addictive to feel like you have the capacity to change something in your community. Those little tiny wins that, and some of them were really big, like getting the first 15-minute bus route in Colorado Springs in 2016.
I wish I had the little bell. We're about to go down the list, and I'll just go ding, ding. I wish I could do that right now. We need the...
Yeah, we need a bell.
We need the bell.
All right. Next time.
Yeah, next time.
I'll come list my accomplishments again.
Right.
Don't even worry.
Right. Because they're not just your accomplishment. It was an accomplishment for the people.
Yes.
And so at one point in time, you actually had city council persons riding the bus line themselves,
Yeah.
right? That's big to
did-
really put them in that seat,
Environment.
Yes.
literally,
Yeah.
to show them, hey, this isn't. How would you get to work on time if you had to ride a bus, right?
Right. Well, and we asked them to do it as office hours. That office hours with council. That if they're available in their big scary city hall, offices that you've got to go through security and ring in the doorbell, that they can come and be a little bit uncomfortable in a new environment too. Like, you
It's
can
fair.
come
It's a fair
see what it
request.
looks like and get a real feel for that experience. And we took like council candidates when they were running for office, and had them come and ride the bus and just get a feel, because you can sit. And especially the biggest thing that I have to challenge myself with is letting people tell their own stories, because I get loud and my ego's big, and that's something I have to beat down every once in a while. But that said, it's incredible what happens when someone who has the capacity to change something sits at the same table with someone who experiences the impact of that lack.
Yep.
That for me to tell a story for someone who is dependent on public transportation is not nearly as effective as having someone who uses a wheelchair
Yeah.
that could not drive or isn't going to be able to afford to spend $60,000 on an accessible van.
Yep.
That this is their option, and every choice you make in this arena have their face on it. Like, know who they are.
Yep.
And that, it changes not only like the policy decisions, but just that understanding that there's not that big of a difference between you and the person that's riding the bus, or the person that needs affordable housing, or the person that is looking for something on the side of the street. Like, we are all very, very closely connected, especially
much
when
so.
you look at it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
It's fun.
It is fun.
I just watched it from afar and was just blown away. And I sit back and do that sometimes and look at the other departments at the IC, and I'm just like, wow, like we're really making change, and it feels amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
To really change the tone of our society.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't require public transportation, but I did use it a lot and do use it. And this, like, I have the creepiest grin on my face sometimes when I'm on routes where I'm like, this is here because of the work we did.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch. Like,
Yes, it is.
advocacy work got this to where it is now, and it is. It's
And our
it's
team.
totally addictive. And yeah, we've had some minor victories in the last couple of months, and we're like, yes,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what we wanted, and to see the change in not only in policy but in perspective of those that initially came against what you were trying to change.
Right.
And it's really amazing to watch, and
Yeah.
and it is addicting. It's one of those legal drugs that you're allowed to
Definitely.
walk around with, and like, yeah, I know.
Yep.
Well, it's so empowering to know that you have that ability to make change, that your voice does count.
Yes,
Yeah, it
yes.
is.
And on the topic of change, Dixie, what are some? You were at. How long have you been at the Independence Center?
For 9 years.
For 9 years. In that 9 years, that's almost a decade. Like, how do we? How have you seen the transformation from the time that you began at the Independence Center, and this is at the Independence Center and in our community of Colorado Springs, up until now? Like, what has that change looked like?
Wow,
For you.
it's been amazing. When I started, I was the program manager, and I believe we had about 7 staff. And everybody did everything, as far as seeing consumers. I even saw consumers, and I learned a lot about the resources when I was doing that. And it was really humbling and just such a great experience. And it gave me an idea of what a lot of the barriers were in the community. Well, as we grew, it's great. We have 48 employees right now, and most everyone has a specialty area that they work in. So we have over 51% of our staff and our board members that have a disability, and that's so important because they come with that expertise and that knowledge of what the needs of that disability and how you can live independently, and the ability to share that with everyone in the community and our consumers that come in. And so a lot of change in the growth of the center and the amount of the advocacy that we're able to provide. One of the big things that I've seen happen, I spend a lot of my my time at the state level looking at different policy and changes. And there are 9 centers across Colorado, all quite small. There's not a lot of funding that go into centers. And this is where I felt empowered and found out that my voice really did make a big difference, because I really advocated for centers to get a base funding so that they could do more of the work that they do. And we really had a big win about 3 years ago. We were able to get a base funding of $650,000 plus additional a formula put together for any new monies that come in for centers. And what a difference that's made across Colorado in the efforts that they're to work with individuals with disabilities and remove those barriers that are in the community that keep you from living independently.
Yeah.
It's addicting, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
It's inspiring as well.
Yeah.
Very inspiring. Just hearing the joy in all of your voices when speaking about change. To our listeners, just know that it all started with an idea. It all started with an idea, and that your voice is important, and that your voice can bring change. Don't ever feel like your voice cannot bring change or that you're not heard, because if you feel like your voice isn't strong enough, you organize a group of people and you use the same voice. You use all of your voices as one, and you create that change. You can do it. I just wanted to put that out there to our listeners.
Yeah.
Thank you, Reverend Ratcliffe.
Exactly.
Well, I'm a preacher's kid.
We need a button that says hallelujah every time you say something.
That's the second button. We got the bell and the hallelujah.
We're adding the buttons to this list that we want.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Dixie, what do you see for yourself in the future? What do you see what would you like to see the independent living movement? Which direction would you like to see that movement go into? What do you see coming in the future?
If I could cast a kind of the future, I would love to see that centers for independent living really aren't needed, because everyone understands disability. The whole country is inclusive of people with disabilities. They understand those disability rights. The barriers have been removed in the community. I know that that's a long-term dream, and it might take us a long time to get there, but that's really what I strive to see, is that we just continue to remove those barriers, and everyone has the right to live the life that they want to live. It might look differently than someone else, but it's the way that they want to live their life. And
Right. I don't think it's too much of a lofty goal. I think that we're moving in positive directions of that goal.
we really are.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think we'll get to something similar to that eventually, but it's kind of strange to say we're working to put ourselves out of business, because essentially that's what we want to do. And so, I can totally see that goal, that dream on the horizon. We just got to get there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The tone of and the level of acceptance in America nowadays has changed just in my lifetime. The ability to accept others that may live differently or do things or access our communities differently. That level of acceptance has truly increased, where I can remember a time where people were kind of standoffish when they would find out I had a disability, to now where people jump and overhelp. And I think it's beautiful, in its own right, that we're getting to this place where everybody can accept everyone for who they are as people,
Right.
and that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of opportunities, though, moving forward. I think that, there are like collective issues that impact so many groups of people, including people with disabilities, like public transportation, like the lack of affordable housing. The area where I feel like people with disabilities and centers for independent living in particular can really own is around healthcare access.
Yeah.
But I see one of the cool points of pride for me with our center in particular is that we are a really strange. I mean, we're a unique model.
Strange and unique is good. Yeah.
Because we started in 1987 not as a center for independent living, but as a home health care agency by a woman with quadriplegia that couldn't find quality home health care that met her needs.
Yeah.
So most centers for independent living, there are some, that are out there that are now adding home health care services, but we did the opposite. Like, we started as a home health care agency because we acknowledge that there are going to be some people with disabilities that may always need home health care.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. But the way that it can be delivered is through the lens of the IL philosophy, that a for-profit home health care agency has literally no vested interest in teaching people to not use their services, because they get to bill for all of those services.
Right.
And our heart is not to, expunge as much out of Medicaid as we can. It's that people can be as independent as possible. So, if you need home health care, great. We're going to give it to you in the mode of you can still continue to learn. You don't have to rely on us forever. And anytime you're ready to take on a new challenge, we have a whole team of people in our back pocket that want to do that for you.
Right.
And that is really special to me, because I think Centers for Independent Living have they've held the healthcare arena like at arm's length. Like, you are the enemy. Like, you're the one holding us down, and that's not untrue. That said, we can't change that system if we don't engage with it, and if we don't kind of provide an example, if you can do it differently. Like, we're going to show you, like, our center is a model of how you can do that, how people with disabilities can provide their own services, that we can have a deaf CNA that provides service to other people with other types of disabilities. And how much more effective is that when it's people that can understand barriers supporting other people that are facing barriers. Like, that's the whole heart of what we do. But we do it in a way that, like, we're a social impact business before we even knew what those were.
Exactly.
And
Very much so.
That's really cool to just come from that frame of both privilege, because we have more resources than a lot of other centers for independent living, but we do it through the heart of independent living philosophy, and that's exactly where I want us to stay.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, I can see that. And we spend a lot of time, internally talking about what our philosophy is.
Yes.
And, when we make a decision, we don't just, look at it as, is it going to make us money, or is it going to cost us money? It's really, is this going to allow us to live, breathe, and act through our mission and our vision? And so it's kind of a fun environment to work in when you explore new ideas, because it's usually not a no, it's how is this going to impact our consumers? Is it going to allow further access for them to live independently, or allow them to have access to different opportunities and experiences, versus saying no, it's going to cost too much. And it's a unique perspective to work in. It's almost hard to work in at first.
If you're not used to it. Right. If you're not used to it.
Is this real life?
Exactly.
Are they seriously just asking me if this is going to benefit someone? Like,
right. I want to break into a quick narrative, man. When I first came to the Independent Center, I was working in peer support, and Dixie was my program manager at the time. And I can remember going through an issue with a consumer, and it was just a really difficult issue. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to, like, what can I do? Like, what are my parameters? Like, what is too far and what is not enough, right? And so I'm sitting here on my computer. It was via email, going back and forth with this consumer. And I said, wait, before I go too far, let me speak to Dixie. I couldn't find my direct manager, so let me go speak to Dixie. I walked next door into Dixie's office, explained the situation, and her first reply was, what do you think? What do you think, Daniel, you should do about this situation? And it really made me just sit back in my chair and just really think, my boss is giving me an opportunity to create change. She's allowing me to use my knowledge and my own ideas to create change, and that was something that I was not used to. As being working in retail, you're so used to your boss telling you what to do and telling you what you can and can't do. It was very refreshing for my boss to say, what do you want to do about it? And whatever you want to do about it, run it by me.
I'm going to CC on that email.
Right. Run it by me, but you have free reign, and I trust that you will be making the best decision. So that was awesome, and that's the type of environment that we have at the Independent Center, and that's the same thing that we do with our consumers. It's not, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life. I can't, because it's not my life, it's your life. What do you want to do, and how can I help you do that? And that's our philosophy. That's the independent living philosophy, is how can we help you accomplish your goals,
And we know that, if staff don't have the space to be creative and to test out new ideas and to risk, then how in the world are we supposed to support other consumers with taking on risks and challenging something? Like, if we create a static environment and if it has to look this way and then say, but go have fun with them, like, that we have to live a philosophy better than that. And I think we do. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, we do.
Definitely.
And it's kind of fun to watch staff, as a manager, watching them explore the boundaries that they intentionally put on themselves. And then when you challenge them to go, okay, what do you think, or what's your perspective, or what do you want to do about it, and it really kind of takes them aback, and they sit back and go, I have a choice.
Yes.
And I have a voice.
Yes.
And so then you can tell them, this is how I want you to pass this empowerment on to your consumers, because they do have a voice and they have a choice in how they want to move forward. And it's pretty fun to watch.
It is. It is, especially with the consumers as well, because it all trickles down. It's like a domino effect. Seeing the light bulb go off in a consumer's head that they first come into the office saying, there's no way I'll be able to do this. This is not possible. Oh my gosh, I can't, I got to make this deadline by tomorrow. I don't know what to do. And the first question is, did you call them? Oh man, let me call them. So then they call, it's handled, and then they have this look on their face where it's like, the entire world has changed, and they would love to give you the credit. They would love to give you the credit, but then you can look right back at them and say, I had nothing to, I just gave you a suggestion. You took it upon yourself to call. You made that phone call, so that's your credit. You deserve that credit.
You did it.
That's awesome, man.
Yes.
So, Dixie and Courtney, I have, I guess, a last question.
Sure.
Okay. So, for the both of you, if you wanted to give any message to our consumers or to our listeners, to our community, to our country, to our world.
We don't limit ourselves.
Right. What would that message be?
Man, you really stumped them.
That was the goal.
It's hard to narrow it down.
There's no limit.
I mean, I think so much of it has to it comes down to your attitude about yourself. That like the beginning of change starts internally with you believing that you deserve something different. And if you don't think that you deserve equal access, if you think that due to your disability you're somehow less than or not as good as or whatever that looks like, that starts inside of you. Like, you get to challenge that voice in your head through whatever means makes sense to you, whether it's therapy or peer support or journaling or who knows, come talk to our peer support staff. That's what they're there for. But whatever that looks like for you, that you do have the capacity to get what you want and deserve in the world, in the same way that, our staff model this, we model this, I model this. Like, I am an output of this philosophy. Like, I'm not the same person I was when I started at the IC 6 years ago. And the impact that I have, it is a spider web. Like, it doesn't happen immediately, but the way that you think about yourself impacts the way other people think about you, and then that just carries down the road. So if there's something that you want to change, know that it starts inside yourself, but that you have connections all around you with people that want the same thing and deserve the same things you do, and fight for them.
Awesome.
I agree.
That was beautifully said, Courtney. I don't know if I can say it any better. Just to add to that, I guess it's just knowing that we're really there to help empower, not to do for, but to walk alongside and help individuals to see that in themselves and to feel that empowerment and gain those skills. And it's just such a great feeling, I guess, for our consumers, for us, because we're growing. Like Courtney said, we're not the same people. We're none of us have all of the answers. Right. We all depend. We're interdependent, really, on each other, and so. I think if we can keep that in mind as we move forward, that it's just a great feeling.
Yeah, right. We're one big family.
Right.
Yeah.
We've had discussions about the difference between independence and interdependence. And as much as we talk about independent living philosophy, what we're really looking at is that everybody acknowledges how interdependent we are. Yes. That I'm not independent. I sure as heck could not do everything that I do in my world without everybody that surrounds me and supports me. Right. But I do it with my choice involved in that process. So that interdependence, despite our name being what it is, I think is a core piece of who we are.
Yeah. And sometimes it's hard to label what the process is or what is happening. Yeah. Because it can become very natural to have the relationships that you've built or create within your own work environment.
Yes.
And how one person's strength can feed off of another person's strength. And then we're able to create the great things that we do. Yeah. Not one person in our building is the end all be all and knows everything and does everything. And we all acknowledge that. Yep. And we do know who to go to with when we need something, because that is that person's strength. Yeah. So it is a really great opportunity for us to explore and grow within ourselves, and then you get to see the changes in the evolution of someone. Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
We get paid for this.
I know. Yay!
We get paid for this? Hold on. I didn't know that. You guys get paid? No.
Yeah. You may want to talk to your manager about that. Just saying.
I wish you was still here. We're going to have a conversation after this podcast. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming in today. It has truly been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Inspirational. I'm definitely going to leave out of here feeling awesome, ready to change something. I might just go
whatever
plant
it is,
a tree or something.
Pretty sure
your shirt inside out, like
Earth Day's right around the corner. You can go find a tree to plant
or hug.
Sure, if that's your thing.
I'm with it.
Your
about
choice.
that life.
I'll philosophy, man.
Exactly.
You do the trees.
We have a staff that knows how to do that professionally. I'll hook you up.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, thanks guys for sitting down and talking to us. I know that sometimes Daniel and I don't really give much prep for conversations.
We don't give any prep.
By the way, here's your email that you're signed up.
Right. Well, catching people in the natural state is just the best. Yeah. Allowing people to really speak from their heart. Mm-hmm.
It's a good time.
It is.
So if you guys are interested in the Independence Center, go ahead and you can Google us, or you can go to our website, www.theindependencecenter.org. You can call us or just stop by. So our phone number is 719-471-8181. If you want to talk to Courtney and Dixie directly, you just ask for them by name and you'll get transferred to their extensions. And I will also put our website on this podcast description. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add before we close?
Our address.
Oh, man, you know our
address.
I got
you. Yeah, it's 729 South Tejon. I might not know if I don't get paid. Our address is 729 South Tejon, and that is in Colorado Springs, Colorado, 80903. Please come by and see us.
Yep. We're always open, always welcome, and you're always greeted with a pretty enthusiastic hello.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, we can guarantee that one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the end of our Independence Center podcast. We've finished another one. And truthfully, thank you guys so much for coming. I'm Daniel Ratcliffe.
And I'm Rebecca Michael.
Signing off.